Hi, Kha, it's Alyssa. Thank you so much for waiting. Your patience is so awesome right now because I'm just kind of a mess and I'm crazy. Yeah, but here's your video. First off, I just make sure that it's at the right time. October 5th, 1990, 3:15 p.m. in Saigon, Vietnam. You are a Libra with an Aquarius ascendant at 29 degrees, and your moon is in Aries. Excuse me. You have two things that you said, and then the rest you just kind of want to know an overview, and that is you don't feel like a Libra, you're not outgoing, and you're not um, in a relationship. That's what you said, right? That's what I saw. Oh, you're not going, you're not good at talking, you're very insecure, and have never been in a relationship. So, I can help you with that. The thing is, Libras are not necessarily not insecure. Libras are kind of the least confident sign because Libra does, like, the sun does really poorly in Libra because it has nothing to do with yourself. Like, here's your ego, and your ego is surrounded by trying to please other people. And so that's all we ever do. It's what we want to accomplish is just pleasing other people and making them happy. And you can get super drained by that. Now, your sun is in the eighth house. The eighth house is ruled by Scorpio, and Scorpio itself um, is like Libra +1, and it really is like it's in the way of a chart. If it starts with the first house, which is ruled by Aries, when you get into the eighth house, like it is secondary, it's succeedent to the seventh house of Libra, and so you are a Libra that should be shallow and flaky, whatever, but you're in this deep, dark, serious placement. And normally, how this happens, how your sun gets there, is if you have a very strained relationship with your father or mother. Most of the time, because it's your son, it would be your father, and maybe it'd be distant, maybe it'd be emotional. There's something, sometimes it has to do with extreme fear in some cases. Either way, what it does is it kind of shuts you down and shuts you up. Most people, if their sun is anywhere from the eighth house to the 12th house, are really introverted. They're not outgoing at all. So it doesn't matter that you're a Libra, it just kind of takes that away because there's so much more going on and you are more observant. Now, an interesting fact is that your moon is in Aries. So emotionally, you are in Aries. Emotionally, you're tied to yourself. Ego wise, you're tied to everybody else. And this is interesting because they're the opposite of what feels normal to people. When your moon is in Aries, um, you're truly like fiery tempered. Not even tempered because that would have to be like anger. But Mars rules Aries, and so it does put this sort of anger on your emotions that maybe you don't actually emote unless you're very passionate or very angry about something. Otherwise, you kind of shove it down because it's not that important to you, or because you just don't express things when you're not feeling them strongly or you're not angry about something. And since you're a Libra who really values harmony, your Aries moon doesn't, but you fight with it. You guys are all like, you inside of yourself, you're fighting a lot. And that also means that you were born on a full moon. It wasn't exactly a full moon. It would have been, if you're born at through, it would have been that the night before. Yeah, the night before you were born, there is a full moon. And then you were born because when your sun and your moon are opposite signs, it means there's a full moon. So when there is a full moon and you're born under, it means your parents couldn't be more different from each other. And if I were to look at your chart and didn't know anything else about you, it would be like your mother was really fiery and your father was more distant, and maybe you didn't get to know him as much because of this eighth house, seventh house, Libra stuff going on. And you might have even connected better and more stably with your mother. And when that happens, when we connect more with our mother than our father, or we have a weird relationship with our father, our ego does not get fed enough for us to actually be confident with ourselves. We are not confident when our ego is strained, and it belongs to our Father to make our ego okay. And that's why where we need our mothers so that we have emotional support, we need our fathers so we can actually go do shit with our lives without feeling like everybody hates us. A lot of fathers didn't get their ego stroked by their fathers, and so they're shitty fathers, and they pass that down through their own insecurities. And then we're stuck with it. And so it's all about what you do with that. It's really important for you to know that, say I'm a Libra sun, my father is very insecure. I got very insecure because of my father. So it all kind of gets passed down in that way. If you look into your father's life and if you can see where his pain comes from or whatever your relationship is with him, you can actually learn to start valuing yourself more and becoming way more confident. That's kind of the trick of knowing astrology and how you fix that stuff. Now, emotionally, if you feel stunted, which your moon only has one bad aspect with Saturn, moon square Saturn. You do have a lot of lessons emotionally. It's in the second house, so it's more stable, but it's still like there's a lot of crap going on there. So that would be fixing your relationship with your mother, finding out why your mother was emotionally unstable. So now why she passed that down to you. It's awesome like that. All of that stuff works, but that's where it belongs to, and that's why you have a disconnect. It's because your mother and your father were two different people, and you're half of each one. As much as you might say you want to be more like one or the other, or you feel like more than one or the other, you are actually both of them intertwined inside of you, and that makes us crazy because when two people get together and they're crazy, that's what happens to their kids. Okay, besides that, I want to talk about your interception because you actually have a Pisces Virgo interception in the 1st and the 7th. When the 7th house intercepts something, it makes relationships harder and makes them more likely to happen later on in life and not early. You missed out on a lot of normal relational things. Maybe you didn't have, a girlfriend for a really long time, or you never did, because you just didn't follow the normal ways of how people date. So you ended up alone and single. I have a 7th house interception too, and my first boyfriend was when I was 24, and that still was pretty shitty. So we kind of just do crap like that. Like when when the 7th house intercepts it, it's because we're supposed to focus on ourselves first, heal that, and then we can have a relationship, and that's when a relationship comes to us. When you're a Libra and you don't have a relationship, being single seems like something that almost something you define yourself with, because you're so actually subconsciously sad about not being connected to somebody else that you're like, oh yeah, I can just be single forever. And you believe that to be true, even if it's not 100% true of yourself, if that makes sense. Because we kind of have to. If we're relational human beings, especially if you're a Libra in the 8th house, you're very relational. Your Aquarius ascendant may come off disconnected, but you have to tell yourself that no, you're just a single type person. In reality, what the relationship is waiting on you fixing yourself. So that's where this interception in the 1st house, which is Pisces, comes into play. You're missing Pisces in the 1st. Something that's very important to you, that maybe you haven't connected with, is spirituality. It could be anything. It could be God. It could be escaping. And is like just as crazy as allowing yourself to escape into something. Some form of healthy addiction. Not that that ever can be that way, but like working out or something. Allowing yourself to get caught up in a different realm other than Earth, because you're missing that completely. And whether it's because you weren't given that as a child, there was no sort of spirituality that connected to you. Pisces even rules astrology. So if you're getting into astrology, that's a piece of you that's missing. You're missing that something to give you more of yourself. I feel like that makes stupid sense. I'm sorry if that makes stupid sense, but there's that piece that says you're allowed to be, say, religious or godly or spiritual at all. Or that you are allowed to believe that there might be aliens in the world, or there might be something weird happening around you, or that there could be spirits, or that crystals could actually heal you, or that people's hands could heal you, or that you could like bend something with your mind. All of that is missing in your first house. And so that tells me you have a lot of that inside of you, but it was not given to you growing up. It was missed out on. And so on the flip side of that, Virgo is in your 7th house. Once you kind of realize what exactly you're missing, what Pisces is, which if you want to, you just might want to Google search Pisces and learn everything it is that you can learn about Pisces and figure out why you might be missing that in your life. And then kind of chasing after it. Then you go to your 7th house and you're missing Virgo. And Virgo is down to earth, rules, structure. Maybe you weren't given any rules growing up. Maybe you were given a schedule. Maybe you were kind of left to be on your own. You have an Aries moon, so that kind of does show a child that was left to kind of raise yourself, maybe like independently. And so if you have that, you're trying to raise yourself, you didn't get the right kind of rules. You didn't get the right kind of patterns. You weren't told to brush your teeth, so maybe you had cavities. Stuff like that can happen when Virgo is intercepted. And since it's in your 7th house, it's about relationships. And so you didn't follow the normal timeline, the normal structure of having a relationship, like I said before. Your Mercury is there in Virgo, and that's your mind. And so when your mind is intercepted, that means that you don't feel smart. You don't feel like anybody cared to know what you had to say. Now, when Mercury's in Virgo, it means you're actually one of the smartest type of people. Yours is 29 degrees, so you're extremely smart. You have a lot of things to say. You're highly intelligent. Whereas, what's it doing? But it's only square Uranus. So actually, you're bordering on genius smart, because Uranus is Mercury times 1,000. When Mercury and Uranus get together, they're really smart. When they compound like that, when they're squaring each other, they can get angry at each other, which means that sometimes your own genius is like lost on you and lost on other people. How do you explain what you want to say when you're so smart? And you're an Aquarius ascendant. Uranus is your ruling planet. When your ruling planet is related to Mercury, you're really smart. That's all I have to say about you, besides the fact that you're really smart, but you don't know it because it's intercepted. And whether or not that was a form of jealousy by one of your parents who didn't want you to know because they were never told, or if it was just growing up in school or whatever, that people weren't willing to focus on the genius that you have. And the genius that you have, it might not be what other people find to be smart. Maybe you weren't book smart. Maybe you are, but maybe you weren't. Maybe your intelligence came through a different way. But whatever it is, you have to start acknowledging that you're intelligent, acknowledging that nobody's trying to call you stupid, that nobody thinks of you as less than kind of amazing in that area. And once you do that, it will kind of cure an interception, the Virgo interception and your Mercury interception, and you'll start getting more power within yourself that you are and you do deserve to love yourself and to think highly of yourself. Because your ruling planet, Uranus, it's only got negative aspects. It's only squaring your Venus, your Sun, and your Mercury, and that's the ruling planet of your chart. So since the ruling planet of your chart is in a crazy position, it means you're a late bloomer. It means that nothing, relationships, career, your life, it's gonna just feel like you have so many things to do before you're happy. And that may be true. But I think you're onto something right now. Because, your quarter life crisis, this is kind of when shit starts happening. When you start realizing what you have to do. You were never, and so don't think that you've ever wasted your life. Looking at your chart, you were never going to be like a famous child star and you missed out on that. You are supposed to be somebody bigger, like in your 30s. And so right now you're working your way up to that. The strength that you have within you will be tested in your 20s and has been tested. And you're working that out. And it's a karmic thing because the more you work it out, the more you heal what maybe have been done in a past life or something that you don't remember. But you're healing all through it, and you're healing yourself, and you're learning about your ancestors. That's something that's very important. To learn about your past, your ancestors, your parents, their parents, how they treated each other, why they treated each other, and understand that hurt people hurt people. And that's kind of what you got on you. And you're different. You're unique. You're really smart, and you're full of artistically creative Libra stuff and fiery leadership skills like Aries. You have both of those in you. And to balance them is to propel you forward and to make it so that you can actually achieve anything that you want to. Yeah. You have a yod pointing to your Neptune in the 11th. You have some great dreams. You might actually be psychic with your dreams. I don't know if you write down your dreams or something, but I would if I were you, because your dreams are going to tell you a part of you and maybe even help you onto your future. Those great dreams that you have in your head, you have them there because you're supposed to go achieve them. You're supposed to want to go and get them. And if you are sitting back with some fear, just know that your dreams were put in your head for a reason so that you know which way you're supposed to go. So don't ever sell yourself short. Don't ever stay back because you think you're not worthy of your dreams. You're absolutely worthy of your dreams, and your dreams must come true because of this finger of God pointing to them. Let me see where, hold on a second. You might feel a little bit disillusioned at times, or a lot, but you have a lot going for you, and you have a lot more that you're going to do with your life. And yeah, that might have gotten taken a weird turn because I don't know exactly where you are in your life, but I just know that there's something very important for you to fulfill, a destiny type thing that you have and that you probably know what it is. And I think that's a real thing, and you're really supposed to find it and go get it. So as long as it's not doing something evil, but thinking outside the box and using your intelligence and your uniqueness to go and achieve something that you've had in your head for maybe since you were a little kid. And yeah, that is your chart reading. Thank you so much again for your patience, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.